That's right. It's time for that boom bap breakfast right here on Black Power Media. This is the Remix Morning Show. I go by the name of the Ear Doctor, and let me introduce you to our host with the most, straight from the East Coast, no other than Burn It Down, Kim Brown. That's it.
That's it. Where's the rest of the starting five?
Oh my goodness, they outside. They be here.
Oh man, y'all! If it's just me and the Ear Doctor, y'all need to ask for y'all money back, man. Like, what is this? How are you going? How is Wu-Tang performing with no meth and no Raekwon? What's going on?
Hey man, don't sleep on you, God. Don't sleep on Master Killer.
So you God and Master Killer had perfect attendance at every Wu-Tang concert. The rest of them niggas, it was a maybe. Maybe the rest of them ends will show up, but you God and Master Killer, perfect attendance.
They came to get their check.
Oh, that's all good. Good morning to you, Ear Doctor. How are you feeling?
I'm doing good. Had a pretty decent weekend, and nothing major. Actually, I wasn't able to do Sundays. I had to do a life celebration. The sister's mom who passed. I came out and DJ for that event, so it was cool. You know, people got together, got the wobble on and stuff like that. You know?
See, that's what I'm talking about—a celebration. You know what I mean? Like, I would love. I'm telling you, I went to Chuck Brown's funeral, and Mike Epps spoke at Chuck Brown's funeral. I said, I need a comedian to eulogize me, dog.
Yeah, it got to be a celebration.
Perfect. That's right.
It got to be a celebration. I mean, a lot of people look at it as a bad thing. Yeah, we hate we don't like the physical leaving and like, oh, we wish they could stay. But it's like, yo, enjoy that life. Your life was great. That's why when I was hearing about Harry Belafonte, I was like, dude lived a long, great life. I was like, I won't have no complaints if I was there.
Unmatched. Yeah.
So, what about you? What you do this weekend?
You know what I did.
Absolutely nothing.
I didn't do anything.
No TV. You didn't catch no the Tupac documentary on Hulu?
No, I gotta sign up for Hulu. I'm not on the Hulu. I started to watch something on Netflix and then I stopped it. I said I don't know about this. So
okay. And
I started to watch Beef on Netflix per Latif's.
I tried. The writing just wasn't there for me. It wasn't. Yeah. So I ain't even get into it. But
I'm gonna give it a shot. I watched episode 1 and I started episode 2. I'm like, am I interested in this? I'm not sure.
I did get to produce the show yesterday with Angela Davis and the sisters that came through, and it was a great panel. It's good to see young sisters that's about the struggle and being on there with an elder that's been through the struggle and them having this dialogue. So it was good to see that too.
Yeah, I got that in my watch later playlist. I'm definitely going to check that out. But big up to everybody, all of our remixers who came through and checked out that wonderful discussion with Sister Angela. So yeah, good stuff. So what we gonna do, Ear Doctor? We just gonna shoot the shit for 2 hours?
Listen, do you have any stories?
I can send them. Yeah, I can send them along.
Cool. So, like we said, we got Jackie coming through. We got Coco coming through, and maybe Kamal. You know, we never heard anything from him. I didn't get no text or anything. You know, Jared, he's got some things to do, but I don't know. We'll see.
Usually when it's just the two of us, you know, at 7:59, Ear Doctor be like, nah.
Like we
got people scheduled to join us in a little bit. It'll be us.
It is. So I guess we go ahead and get to our first break right here on
a long morning.
Morning. We got it. No other than the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. Show. Yeah. Welcome out once again, everybody. out there in the world. This is the Remix Morning Show. Please make sure y'all hit that like button, that subscribe button, and share. Make sure you let somebody else know that this is the time. Tuesdays, Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. We are rocking out. All right, so we want to go ahead and get to a weather report real quick. Let's start off with no other than the ATL. It is finally becoming summer. That's right. Big up to the sun coming out finally. We got a high today of 83 degrees. Next, let's take it to the DC area. They got a high today of 64 degrees, which is kind of a dramatic change. And then you take it to the Midwest and you go to Chicago, you got a high day of 54 degrees. And next, let's take it to down south to Houston, Texas. They got a high of 81 degrees. Next, let's take it to the West Coast. LA, they got a high of 66 degrees. And let's take it to Jamaica, Montego Bay. I'm thinking about going to check that spot out down there in Montego Bay. I need a little vacay. They got a high today of 85 degrees. And last but not least, let's take it to the motherland, no other land. We got Egypt. That's right. They got a high today of 83 degrees, which is same as ATL. All right. So that's pretty cool. I'll tell you what else is kind of all right, cool. U.S. President Joe Biden on Monday. Check this out. This guy says, yo, I call for airlines to pay cash to U.S. So he said he wanted his administration, he said to his administration, we're writing new rules that will require airlines to compensate passengers for cash or significant flight delays or cancellations when the carriers are responsible. Well. That's something right there, you know. Now, what would you like? You want your cash back? You want a free flight? Or you want what? I don't know. You let me know, and we're going to talk about it right here on the Remix Morning Show. Now, let's get back with our hosts. All right, let's go. Yeah.
Yo.
All right.
So, of course, the airline industry is already pushing back against this, saying that if you have one uniform standard of compensating passengers, it diminishes the competition between the airlines. So, if United, for example, is offering refunds and hotel vouchers, and one other airline isn't, the airlines are saying that it shouldn't be one standard. Of course, they push against regulations. Truthfully, all of the airline industry should be nationalized. It should be a nationalized in a form of transportation. I don't think these airlines should profit off of something that most people need to use in order to move about the country. So I don't know. I doubt is if these regulations will actually go through because, I mean, the federal government, it's not beholden to the people, it's beholden to the corporations and the oligarchs. So it's going to be a lot of airline lobbying money being spent against this, and just goes to show you how feckless really all of our elected leaders are, particularly at the federal level. We know Trump wouldn't stand for some shit like this. He would be like, "Oh, it's not fair to the industry. If businesses can't make money, then what are they in business for?" Blah blah blah. And basically, Biden and his administration see shit the same way. So they talk a little game, but we'll see if these things actually go through.
Well, let's see what Jackie Lukeman has to say.
Hey, everybody. Hey.
Good
morning.
morning.
So you want your cash back or you want some free flights or what you want, Jackie? I know you just stepping in here. We talking about Joe Biden talking about the airplane people got to pay back people when they give them cancellations or they delays and stuff like that. He's trying to make them pay that money. What you want?
People should get their money back. People should get their money back, but we know how Joe Biden is on giving people their money. So
Joe Biden still owe me $600, nigga. I ain't forgot.
I wouldn't hold your breath.
Student debts, all that stuff, right? What happened, Joe?
Still a little short on that stimmy. You know what I'm saying? Again, I don't forget when niggas owe me money, though. Gonna
No,
remember.
no,
I'm gonna be
I
at Joe
wouldn't
Biden's
hold my
funeral trying to collect that $600. Like, hey, Hunter, what's up?
yeah,
Break
rifling
me
through his
off.
pockets in the casket.
Yeah.
Kim, you said you had stories. You sent them, or what did you do?
I emailed them to you. Well, so what? We're not slapping maps or nothing.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
no, we
renegade
slapping
time.
maps. We slapping maps.
Okay.
Listen,
From
I just need to
six
know so before I
noon.
get out of here. Make sure you straight.
I
Y'all
got
straight? All right, I'm out of here.
uh okay. Good morning, Jacqueline.
Ooh,
¿Cómo se
good
va su
morning, Kim.
matán?
Good
How
morning.
was your weekend? Was you out there brucking niggas up? What's going on? Or
No,
you was peaceful?
I had a peaceful weekend. I took a break because I really need one because the
Hmm.
next few months are gonna be mad. Just so I drove out to Ocean City, Maryland before the
Oh,
um late
summer
spring
season.
summer rush. Yeah. It was really nice. It was kind of a little chilly. The water was cold, so it was too cold to get in. But it was, it
Mm-hmm.
was great. Just walking up and down the boardwalk, just kind of hanging out, eating, reading, just having a good time. So it was a nice chill weekend. And I really need that because next week
Yeah.
the
What's going on
surgeries
next week?
start. So next Friday, I
Mhm.
have the first of the two major surgeries. So the first major surgery is the paniculectomy that they have to do before the kidney transplant. So they have to remove all of this, my little cushion down here in my abdomen, because that's where the transplant will take place. So that has to go. They're going to remove all of that, the little apron down there, and I won't have a belly button anymore. um, and then I have to recover from that for it'll be like 3-4 weeks, and
Oh,
then
wow.
hopefully, I will be, scheduling the kidney transplant. I hope to hear something, within but in that time about whether I have a living donor or not. So, could be back-to-back surgeries, but, you know.
So I wanted to ask you a question before we slap the map here, doctor. Let me ask Jackie this because Jacqueline, I did look into this. You know what I'm saying? Like I started the to inquire about what was going on in terms of the process about being a living kidney donor, and I saw an interview from I guess she was the renal expert or something from somebody from MedStar, and they were explaining the way that MedStar is that DC MedStar in DC, the way that they do the kidney transplants is if you qualify as a living donor, even if your kidney doesn't match the intended person, that intended person still gets pushed higher up the list if there is another kidney elsewhere in the country that matches that the person who is the who would be the recipient of it. So
Yeah.
is that how that works? I mean, I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
probably didn't
Yeah, no,
recount
that's
it very
yeah,
well.
you explained it well, and the that works it works that way if the donor agrees to do that because a lot of people, which I have no judgment on, look, right, when people sign some people sign up to be a living donor for people and they want to give their kidney to the person that
Right.
they do not want to give their kidney to some other person, and I completely and totally understand that. So the exchange that what you just described is called the exchange program, and the exchange program kicks in when the donor agrees to give their kidney, be a living donor for somebody else if their kidney doesn't match the
Mhm.
person that they want to donate to. So yeah, that is another aspect of it.
And the other thing that MedStar mentioned is that if you decide or agree to become a living donor, the donor necessarily does not have to have insurance themselves. That the recipient's insurance would take care of all of the medical expenses. I think the MedStar lady said something about, it doesn't include, travel and hotel and whatever, but all of the medical expenses would be covered by the recipient's healthcare insurance. So
Yeah,
you don't
that's
even have
absolutely
to have insurance to be a donor, basically.
yes, that's true. And I thought that the expenses that are covered by my insurance, part of which is also Medicaid, because once you are diagnosed with end-stage renal disease, you're automatically you qualify for Medicaid because you are legally disabled. If you're especially if you're on dialysis, the minute you're on dialysis, you are legally disabled. So I had to sign up for Medicaid, but my insurance, just as a part of the kidney transplant process, is the one decent thing the medical this medical system in this country does, that it covers the expenses of kidney donors. And I think this extends to all organ donors. So it, obviously, um, there aren't a whole lot of organs that you can donate and still live,
And
but,
still be
but
alive, right?
right. But for the other organs that I think what is the maybe like an eye or something. I don't know. But anyway,
Cornea, they do the corneal
yeah, yeah, but
transplants and
definitely for kidney living kidney donors, my medical insurance covers the expenses of the donor. So, and I think that that also includes travel and and some hotel, and also like loss of wages for you to during
mm,
recovery time. So yeah, that's the one decent thing I can say about the healthcare system in this country, that if you are fortunate enough to find someone who wants to donate a kidney, the person who is donating the kidney doesn't have to worry about medical bills.
see, I didn't know that either. And the last question or thing I wanted to mention is they also mentioned that if you are a living donor, if you in the future require some sort of organ transplant, or 5 of your family members that you can designate, they would be elevated on the organ donation list if such a need were to arise in the future. So I see I see they do try to, perk it up as much as possible, to entice you into major surgery to donate an organ. But I know you mentioned on a previous show here that you had some people, or there had been some people who had gone through the process or were in the process of going through the preliminary whatever to donate a kidney. So is it too intrusive for me to ask? What's that looking like for you?
Well, see, this is the thing, because the people who are going through the evaluation process to be a living donor, their medical process is uh, it's privileged healthcare information
Right,
because
right, right.
they're not me. So I don't know where they are in the process, and I can't know the results of their tests. I can't know
Mm.
what tests they're doing. That's just not information that anybody is going to share with me because of HIPAA rules. When I find out if I have if somebody has been approved to be a living donor, when my nurse coordinator calls me and tells me this person has been identified as a match for you. And if all of those people, I don't even know how many people there were being tested. They can't tell me anything. My nurse coordinator, the most she could tell me was that it was more than 2 people. That's all she could tell me. And so I'm waiting for the call, and the call to be either one of these people has been identified as a match for you, or none of these people are a match for you. That's when I find out.
And the
So
matching criteria, it's based on blood type or not just blood type?
it's not just blood type. It is blood type, tissue type, and something called uh, antigen, I think,
Mhm,
something
mhm.
or other like that. I don't ask me to explain what antigens are. I don't know what they are. But yeah, it's not just blood type. It's some other stuff. And I think the antigen, if I'm correct on that word, the antigen match or mismatch indicates how likely it is that I would reject a kidney. Like if from what I understand, um, if the donor has antigen mismatches with me, like I don't, I've done, I have to submit my blood work every month to see if I have developed any antibodies. That's what it is, any antibodies. And so far, I have produced 0% antibodies, which means that I would not. The likelihood of me rejecting a kidney is low. However,
Oh,
if the
good.
person, right, if the person who is the living donor has some antibodies, then the possibility of me rejecting the kidney increases by the percentage of antibodies that the donor has. This doesn't mean that I can't do the direct donation with that person. What that means is the anti-rejection medication that they would put me on would be adjusted to that. And they would, so that's, I think, how that pretty much works. And I think that if a donor has a high percentage of antibodies, then they are considered not a match. Even if
Mm.
their blood type is a match, if their antibodies are too high, then they're not a match, because then the kidney would almost certainly be rejected by me. So yeah, it's kind of a complex sort of calculation, but it's supposedly based on um, my survivability. Well, the kidney survivability in me not rejecting the kidney. Interesting thing about this whole kidney uh, um, kidney disease process. When I started this whole thing, and I know we got to slap the map, but I've been meaning to talk about this, because this is like breaking news for this issue. When I started this whole process, when I learned about EGFR and GFR numbers in your blood work that indicate your kidney function, I didn't understand why there were two different numbers. There's the GFR number, which is your
Mhm.
glomerular filtration rate, which is the rate at which your kidneys are functioning. So
And
if
that's
your
the
G
percentage.
right,
It's reflected in a percentage on the test.
exactly. So if your GFR is 80 on your blood work, your kidneys are
Mhm.
functioning at 80%. But there is a separate number called EGFR. That was the way it was explained to me, was it was the number that was used to um, indicate the kidney function level for African American people. Turns out that whole separation of kidney function between everybody else and black folks, bullshit, based on bullshit science, based on nothing. It was completely inaccurate. It was based on racism. The idea was that black people, the medical community believed that black people had denser muscle mass, so that we naturally produced more creatinine, so our kidney function was naturally like high or something, just some bullshit kind of thing that is actually not backed up by any medical science whatsoever. So
And
what that
yet it
means,
persists. And yet it persists in the
right?
21st
So
century.
and this was just reported like late last year. So
Oh, wow.
now there will no longer be a separate EGFR and GFR number on your complete metabolic panel results. And what this also means for kidney patients is that because that number was higher than it should have been, because if you look, your EGFR is always higher on your blood work than the GFR, this artificially inflated number, because they claim that we produce more creatinine, and that's just not true. African Americans were always underdiagnosed for chronic kidney disease, end stage renal failure, and we should have been placed on dialysis or on the kidney transplant list sooner than we were, for those of us who made it to the kidney transplant list. So there's a big push in the medical community to rectify that. So I've never looked at the kidney trans. I don't even know how to get to the damn kidney transplant list. So I don't know where I am on the list, but because of that recognition of the medical apartheid in kidney disease and kidney treatment, Black people in this country who are on dialysis or are waiting on the kidney transplant list have been moved up on the list. And
Really?
yeah, yeah. Yes, because we should have been. Yeah, we should have been
Wow.
diagnosed. Like, I should have been diagnosed with chronic kidney disease much sooner than I was.
I was gonna ask you that. I
Yes.
mean, because Jacqueline, I mean, we've been doing the Remix Morning Show for 2 years, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And from whence we started to where you are right now, awaiting a kidney, that's fast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I
and it's
mean,
like,
look,
should you have been diagnosed way sooner
and
than you
and
were?
and look, I readily admit that had I not advocated for my own self with the first nephrologist that I went to, who he didn't even after he looked at my lab work and looked at me and said, "Yeah, you're in end-stage renal disease. You're going to have to be on
Jesus.
dialysis." And before I could even ask a question, he was taking off his gown and walked out of the room. If I had not said to my cardiologist, who looked at my results and said, she's like, "Well, your heart is fine," because I was doing my regular annual cardio, test. And she looked at my lab work and she said, "Yeah, your heart's doing good. It's really fine, but we need to be preparing you for a kidney transplant." I was like, "Excuse me, what?" And she said, "Nobody told you that." And my EGFR was 30.
Oh my
So
god.
and she was like, do you have a nephrologist?" And I told her, "Well, this is what happened." And she said, "Oh no, 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 no. Let me send you to my colleague and she'll take care of you." Had I not had that conversation with my cardiologist and told her, "I don't like the way this guy just kind of just didn't even stick around to ask me for me to ask questions because I don't know what's going on." And she said, "Oh no, 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 no. Let me send you to my colleague." And she sent me to Dr. Jameson over at MedStar, nephrologist. Had I not done that, had my cardiologist not referred me to Dr. Jameson, I don't know what would have happened. I I so and honestly, had I not had I not worked for Sputnik and these people had not provided the insurance that they do, that they pay for, I don't Sputnik just started paying for. So I recognize that I am in a position that most of our people are not in,
That's
because
right.
almost all of us experience, if we can't afford to go to the doctor, we have to deal with medical professionals who don't listen to us, who think that we're stupid, who will not have an engaging conversation with us, who will not make sure we understand what's going on, and
Mm.
won't respect our wishes. So, and that's those of us who have insurance and can afford to go to the doctor. Most of us are not in that position. So I absolutely recognize that I am fortunate. I am the, I am not the norm. The kind of care that I'm getting, the speed at which all of this is transpiring for me, the advocacy that I'm having with the dialysis nurses and all this ain't the norm for our people. And that's
No.
the part of this that pisses me off, because I shouldn't feel special. I shouldn't be special to get this kind of treatment. Everybody should get this kind of treatment. And I just don't know how I can work fighting for this for everyone into, because there's no way I come out of this, Kim, and everybody watching, with like, "Ooh, praise the Lord. I'm, saved and I'm alive and the Lord saved my life." No, bullshit. As long as I know how many other of us suffer and die because they can't get the kind of treatment I get. Nah, I can't. So I really feel like I'm thankful that all of this is happening so fast and I'm able to do what I'm able to do. But I believe that it's happening for me this way because I'm supposed to do something with it. So, you know, I just so I had to tell people that because, for people who were really appreciative that I explained the EGFR and GFR numbers, you need to know this. So now you need to go back to your doctor and say to them, what's my real number? What's my real GFR number? What is this is what I learned has happened. I learned that this EGFR thing is racist. What is my real number? And if your GFR is below 60, you need to be having a conversation with your doctor about what do I need to start doing to stop my kidney function from declining. Because once it gets to a certain, you cannot regenerate kidney function. I need people to
That's what I was
stop.
gonna ask. That was my next question,
No,
actually. Can you
you can
can
regenerate
you flush your
liver
kidneys?
function.
Can you lemon water your way back to better kidney function? No?
You can stop your kidneys from failing once you but once your kidneys get to a certain level of dysfunction of not
Mhm.
operating, there's no getting that function back. You can stop the decline, but you can't if it's like if your kidney function is like if it decreases from like 80% to 70%, you might be able to recover some of that because that's probably not a chronic disease kind of thing. But if we're talking like
Mhm.
40, 30, 20%, you ain't getting that back, and you're now getting close to end stage renal disease, and that's where you're going to start to need dialysis and a transplant. So that's my soapbox for today. Kalanji.
What? Oh,
I'm
wow.
just listening to your story. I appreciate it. I know so many people that, like you said, were not as fortunate as you, who made their transition based on things that would seemingly be simple to fix. But since this society, since capitalism is such a criminal institution, and it's all about the money, folks will die of thirst. You know, they'll die from simple things. You can't afford to live, you can't afford to be sick, and in America, you can't even afford to die. Again, you're talking about over $10,000 just in burial expenses in most cases.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm listening to it, and it's reminding me of the brother Jordan Neely up in New York, right? And you know, I want folks to know that he wasn't just some homeless um, brother suffering from a mental illness. He was actually his father was the last poets had another group, and I can't think of the group name offhand, but one of the members of this other group he was the son of. You know, so you know we will be definitely getting behind it. But I'm thinking about him because he got on that train and he talked about how he was hungry and how he couldn't afford food and he couldn't afford medicine and so on and so forth. And this white boy felt comfortable enough rather than supply him with some food, rather than supply them with some type of medical assistance, death was less expensive. And he was comfortable enough to do this in front of the world on a train in New York with a Negro holding him down. So I know that, this is two different stories, but we're talking about healthcare. You understand what I'm saying? We're
Mhm.
talking about the fact that America is a place, the United States is a place where they would rather see you dead than alive. They'd rather see you enslaved than alive. The question around your kidney should not even be a question. You know what I mean? Had you been such and such Rockefeller or so and so Biden, or whoever, we wouldn't be having this convo right now.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that as you mentioned, Sputnik, and any other progressive or left um, organizations and movements that genuinely care about their people, which includes their employees or whatever the case is. We're grateful for that. We love you. We appreciate you. And your black ass ain't going nowhere because we got a lot of work to do. So
Don't you
just
make me cry on
let
the
me say,
morning
don't be
show,
coming at y'all.
Negro.
Y'all's too.
Damn it.
That's another reason I got on here. Y'all's too damn
Damn it.
sensitive. I'm like, what's going on? I thought this was the morning show. You know what I'm
Shit,
saying?
man.
Y'all turning into the morning show. I'm like, but
Tears.
it's all good. But nah,
Nah,
we
Jackie
definitely.
was on here and giving us instruction and information. I didn't take it as we was mourning
And
anything.
that's
Jackie
why I'm
was
here.
giving us info.
Kim, I'm joking with my sister. That's why I'm here. That's why I hopped
Hmm.
on the scene, and that's what I started this off with. I want to make sure that we acknowledge all of our people who make efforts. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I appreciate, like you said, you sharing it. But anyway, I wanted to hop in and say that because you inspired me this morning. Because we don't respect life like we should. I don't think we respect life. Unfortunately, we're in a mindset as far as African people that we get more excited at our deaths and defeats. You know what I'm saying? When someone kills us, we live in like reactionaries right now. So anyway, proceed. Forgive me for
Jackie, the
Now,
one thing I wanted to ask you about living donors.
hmm.
I I would imagine it's difficult to get black folks to sign up to be living donors, right? Like I'm an organ donor on my ID card upon my death, right? So y'all can take whatever once I can no longer breathe the air. But I know people's like, because I mean there is well documented precedent in this country for a thieving of black people's organs, right? And not to say that this is that kind of situation, but I can understand a historical generational reluctance to sign up for living donor type of things. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What's the rate of black folks that actually sign up to do this?
Very low for that reason. Um,
Mm-hmm.
And for kidney donation, it is a unique situation because it's a living donation. So your best donor is usually, and this is also the conundrum with Black folks. Your best donor is someone who is related to you. Now, just because somebody is like your brother or your sister, mother, father, doesn't mean that they will automatically be a match. But usually, that's where the best match comes from.
Mm-hmm.
However, because of the systemic uh, um, white supremacist, settler colonial, patriarchal, capitalist, oppressive, dictatorial system that we live in that makes existence stressful for us, most Black people are automatically disqualified from being a living kidney donor because they have either hypertension or diabetes, one of the two diseases. There's a very high prevalence of those diseases among us, not because of what we eat, not because we eat too much fried chicken, not because we lazy, but because of systemic racism, because
Mm-hmm.
this system is stressful to survive in. The same is true for indigenous First Nations, Native Hawaiian people, the same diseases. Also among Latinx, Hispanic people, same kind of issues. So when we factor that in to the fact that there is a very long and well documented history of medical apartheid and racist malpractice against Black people, of course we don't trust the medical establishment. To I absolutely feel that, and I'm not ever going to dissuade people that they shouldn't be mistrustful of these people. What I will say is that we're the only ones who can save ourselves. I mean, kidney donation, like there. I'm not going to say that there are not panels that decide who should get a kidney and who should not, because there are. And
Mm-hmm.
those panels are more or less biased depending on where they are, right? And also depending on the kind of advocacy the patient has. So, like, I know with me, there was an issue with MedStar, the transplant team, about my weight. They were not going to list me until I lost this additional 5 pounds. They told me I needed to lose, look
Pounds.
here, they told me I needed to lose 10. I lost 12. Sister literally worked her ass off. I lost 12. And they were like, "Oh, well, that's nice. And we see you lost." It was a white lady, little skinny white lady. "Oh, we see you lost the weight, and that's great. But your what is it called? The body,
BMI.
yeah, your BMI is still a little bit above
Oh
the
my God, that shit is
required."
racist as fuck too.
So I tell this to my dialysis team, and the counselor advocate picks up the phone. "Excuse me. I don't see any reason why you should not list her because she's done everything that you required her to do." So what is so that got a call, that person got a call, and then my nurse coordinator got a call, and she's like, "Wait a minute. That's not a decision we would have ever made." And this was the nutritionist.
Mm.
She's like, "The nutritionist isn't even qualified to make that kind of decision. We are so sorry."
Jesus.
We believe, yeah, so that
Oh
so I look, I've
my God.
experienced I
Oh my
I'm not
God.
gonna sit here and tell people, "Hey, everything is fine." And no, I'm not gonna sit here and like lie and try to make people feel good about the system. What I
But
will
Jackie,
say,
how,
well,
what do you
uh-huh.
what do you mean that she wasn't qualified? I mean, she was
She
white. What do
shouldn't
you
have
mean?
made that decision. She
But
was
she's
in
European.
no yeah, she was in no position to tell me that the transplant team was not gonna list me because she ain't like my little extra 5 pounds on my little ass.
Right. Right.
That was her shit. So,
Wow.
so these things do happen. They happen. There was a case a couple of years ago when I first got diagnosed, and it scared the hell out of me. A brother, he got the call saying that he was on the transplant list. He got the call saying that a kidney was available. Get to the hospital. They prepped him for surgery, and the transplant didn't happen. And that is a result. That kind of thing is a result of this panel of doctors who decides who gets the next kidney, um, who is the more deserving of the patients who are. That kind of stuff happens, right? But so I'm not going to tell people that those things don't happen, and that you should trust the medical community, and there's no racism. No, that's bullshit. There is. What I will say is that we are the only ones who can save ourselves. And if
Mhm.
you are considering being a living donor, then be all in for it. Meaning, don't just want to be a living donor for that person, but get to know that person's dialysis team if you can. Be proactive in your engagement in the process. If you don't like, this is what I've learned, this is what I always tell people. If you do not like the way anybody in the medical community is treating you, and I don't care if it's at a lab core, getting your blood drawn, I don't care if it's, going for a physical. If you don't like the way somebody is treating you, you have a right to see another professional.
Right.
If you feel like these people aren't treating you or your family members right, you have a right to demand to be seen and treated by somebody else. Please don't think that just because this person has a medical degree or a nurse's degree or an anesthesiology degree that you have to be treated and seen by them, because you don't.
Yes. I want to encourage something too, because it is, again, like of course, being over 50, right? You see that, so many ailments come about. That's when things really, they remind you, like, you're not 30, you're not 20, you ain't even 40.
Hmm.
So things, like the book say, things fall apart, right? Um, I want to encourage people because, again, as Jackie said, this is all a result of capitalism, right? And capitalism is not just, I mean, of course, it's about money, but it's about full spectrum domination, it's full spectrum control, right? So we're talking about everything from the foods we eat to, to healthcare, mental health care, so on and so forth. One of the things that we're pushing right now real hard is food sovereignty, okay? Because we have to be able to control our own food. Right now, where we are, as it currently stands, the majority of us here, particularly in the United States, we depend on our adversaries for our food and nutrition, right? So we're encouraging people to grow as much as possible. Um, Not only that, exercise it's no longer an option. I think that we are more concerned at times with our cars and our engines and the gas and all that type stuff than we are our bodies, right? We're more concerned with our clothes. Did I iron my clothes today? Is it sharp? You know what I'm saying? Does it smell fresh? So on and so forth. Our bodies, we just take a shower, put on some lotions. Most of the time you don't know what the hell is in the ingredients, and move on with your day. And then later on you find out you have some type of cyst or whatever, something that you didn't have prior to this. um One of the things we're doing, I want to remind folks that on beginning May 19th, going into Black August, we have a program we're pushing, called Fitness for Resistance. And this is a program that started by the FTP movement, the African Martial Arts Institute, and Urban Survival Preparedness Institute, and a few others. We are encouraging our brothers and sisters to get involved in self-healing, right? You are your first, quote unquote, regardless of your religion or whatever the case is, you are your first savior. Okay. You're the only person that can save yourself. You're the only human that can save yourself. So the first form of liberation that you should be going for is self-liberation. That is the most refreshing form of liberation, because you have full control over yourself, you know, and that's part of going into sovereignty as a whole. But Fitness for Resistance, I want to invite brothers and sisters to join us. Again, we're starting it on Malcolm X Day, and when we're going into the whole Black August situation, it will involve fasting, and it's at your own pace. You know what I mean? You might not be a runner, but walk. You understand what I'm saying? Bicycle, skate. You know what I'm saying? If you can do calisthenics, do that. Here in Atlanta, we have the African Martial Arts Institute where we train. We have 52 Blocks ATL, which is another fighting form, Urban Survival Preparedness Program. These are pieces that we utilize because we talk about revolution, we talk about movement, so on and so forth. Again, going back to this brother Jordan, when this white boy choked him, there was ways he could escape that chokehold had he been trained and understood what was going on, right? So we have to be able to get ourselves as fit as possible, because when we don't, then we have to end up in our enemy's hands again, at their mercy. And this is not by, you know, it is by design. It's not by, it's not just coincidental. You know what I mean? They give you the worst foods. They contaminate the water. They mess up the air. And by the time we figure out what's going on, we have to end up in their particular systems. So again, I encourage folks, we have to not only exercise our minds, but we have to exercise physically as much as possible. And that's not saying that anyone's not, but we must increase, because we don't want to have to, like you said, we don't want to have to depend on if they decide that you're worthy of this piece, because oftentimes we don't know. A simple Google search will see that Jackie Luke Mon is not on the side of the colonizer. So that can be a decision making factor as well. You come up in there with locks and everything, and you African, they're like, man, hold on, well, let's see who this woman is. Oh yeah, we ran out of kidneys now. And, they got a whole room full, everything you need. Ain't no more kidneys. We need you to lose 5 pounds. They hoping you don't lose 5 pounds. We need you to stand on your head. We need you to bench press Brooklyn. They ain't know you could do all that. You know, they had the wrong one. But
I mean, I
that's
gotta
what
say, like, So one thing I want to acknowledge is that, we can't gauge actual wellness and health based off somebody's body type, right?
No.
Someone can be thin or lean, what society deems as physically desirable, and the insides could be a wreck. Conversely, somebody can be quote unquote overweight and be perfectly healthy, right? And not have anything wrong with them. So the way that we perceive health and wellness just vis-a-vis looking at somebody is something that I want us to further deconstruct, because how we perceive a healthy body just by looking at it may or may not be the case. But I'm telling you, Jackie, you listening to your experience and to the experience of others. Jared has been very transparent about his health tests that he's had going. As I get older, I am actually more reluctant to go to the fucking doctor. I was religious about physicals, well woman exams throughout my 20s and 30s. And now I'm in my 40s. Like, I don't want to go to the fucking doctor. You know what I'm saying? And it's an antithetical way of thinking, because the older you get, the more shit go wrong. You should want to go to the doctor and get checked out. But I feel like I have a better understanding of elders who preceded me about why they didn't want to go to the doctor. That used to befuddle me as a younger person, but now that I'm middle aged, I'm like, oh, I get it. I don't want to go to the goddamn doctor. Them niggas gonna tell me something bad.
I
Do
mean,
not. I'm not here for the bad news.
well, I mean, I would tell people, and I do tell people this, you should at least get your annual physical so you can get your complete metabolic panel, get your blood work, so you can see what's going on and you make the decision about how you are going to address whatever comes up that's an anomaly, and ear doctors waiting in the wings, but I gotta say this. Look, I also tell people that I wish I knew in my 20s and 30s about nutrition and
Mm.
exercise what I know now. Because if I knew then what I know now, there were a lot of things I would have eaten a lot less of, and a
Such
lot of
as,
exercise I
like
would have,
what?
huh?
Like what? Such as what?
I would have eaten a lot less fast food. I ate very unhealthy for a very, very long time, because look, I was, in my 20s and 30s, I was 180 pounds stacked. I mean, I'm doing my thing, and I ate too much fast food. I ate out too much, ate too much fatty food, and I really should have done a lot better, because I was diagnosed with hypertension in my like 25 at 25.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I should have. I wished I had taken better control of what I put in my body sooner than I did. So
I
all of
appreciate
this,
that.
there is no silver bullet to one thing that is going to fix this problem that I'm facing, that we're all facing. It is all, it's not, eating right, being a vegan, never going to the doctor, being holistic, that ain't gonna change white supremacy.
Nothing.
That ain't gonna change
Mm-mm.
this
Hey,
system. That's good if you can do it. That's great. But that's not gonna solve our problem and ultimately get us free from even the medical system that is a part of this systemic white supremacist, settler colonial, patriarchal, capitalist dictatorship we live in.
appreciate your honesty, Jackie. I think that discipline is the key, and I'm so happy that we have to be honest with ourselves when we assess our situation. No one can tell you what you need to do more than you could. You know what I'm saying? I can get on here and say whatever I want to, but if I'm not honest with myself, Imam Jamil Alameen, H. Rap Brown said, if you can't beat yourself, you can't beat nobody else. You understand what I'm saying? So it's all about the discipline. And, I'm hoping that we all reach a point where we can attain the highest form of discipline we could. Because with that discipline, as an individual, it will help to reinforce our community. And then it only went then will we have a chance of winning some type of revolution once we have pure, unadulterated discipline and we practice what we uh what we know, not even what we preach. Thank you for
Hmm.
that.
All
Thank y'all
right.
for this little. I really appreciate it. I love y'all.
I had questions, Jacqueline, because like I had mentioned it when you were initially beginning the process, and I looked, and I didn't want you to think I'm just some motherfucker on the internet talking shit. Like, I looked into it, Jackie. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even all the way opposed to it. I'm afraid, to be honest. Like, I'm a little concerned. What if I need my kidney later? You know, these are just maybe selfish questions that I have about the
No,
process, because I'm not opposed to
no,
living organ donation, because I have a number of people that have gone through exactly what you're going through, and if there was an opportunity for me to give it directly to you, then yes. But if they gonna ship it to
no,
Mr. George across the
no, they
country, I
won't.
don't know if I want my kidney going to Mr. George. I want my shit
No,
going to
and it
Jacqueline Lukeman.
no, and it doesn't have to, and you decide that. You decide that. But those are not selfish questions. Those make sense. People people think that I'm facing all this shit, and I'm not like scared. The
Of
fuck.
course.
But
Right.
this
Right.
is look. These are I just what's that saying? You do it afraid. That's what I do. I've had 5 surgeries on this arm alone, just to get this fistula straight. Every time I go under, it's like anything could happen. This is not light stuff. This ain't light work. But like I said, everything I've been through, I I'm kind of getting the idea that somebody wants me around for a reason. So I just need to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and just keep doing this shit to
Yeah,
finally
we
get to
gotta.
the point where I figure out what it is I'm supposed to do and say, and that's what it is. But you
I
know
know
who ain't
someone.
scared though?
I know someone that got something for you to do and say, and that's the ear doctor. He been waiting in the
Hmm.
wing, waiting to make this transition.
Yeah, yeah. Yo, Jackie, we appreciate all that you're doing, all that you're saying, so that people can understand what's going on, especially with this healthcare system, bringing us into your life. So we very much appreciate you. With that said, this is the Remix Morning Show, y'all. We remix it up. We gonna talk about this. We gonna talk about that. And next segment, we gonna get to some news. But this right here is the news we needed right now at this
That's
time. So
right.
appreciate it.
No, that
All
is
right,
the
Signing
news.
out. Y'all be safe out here. Got to run.
all right,
One
peace,
love.
bro. All right. So here we go. Once in the it's time for the Remix Morning Show. Let's go. 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 Yeah. What's good, everybody? Welcome out to the Remix Morning Show. Make sure y'all come in and take your shoes off, hit that like button, subscribe button if you haven't already. We got a bunch of things going on this channel, so make sure y'all check it out and tell a friend to tell a friend. All right, with that said, we got a little music in the background right there. So who we gonna talk about today on this artist spotlight? No other than Cheryl Lynn. That's right. Let's talk about it. All right, Cheryl Lynn, in case you didn't know, coming straight out of Los Angeles. She's a singer and songwriter, best known for her songs in the 70s and the 80s. She had R&B and disco songs, but her biggest song, as you know, is "Got to Be Real." That's right. That one right there came and blammed them on the charts. She started off at a young age in the choir. At 19, she started doing background vocals and actually went on with a company doing the Wiz. So she got to be in the Wiz, performing the Wiz, and then she got her shine one time on the Gong Show and got to perform "You Are So Beautiful," an old school song. But after that, she came out with her first record and with Columbia Records, and it was "Got to Be Real." That was that dope song on that album. Then she came back with a second album, which was called "In Love." It had a couple songs on there, not too big, but she got to work with a lot of different people, especially in 1981 when she got with Ray Parker Jr. and was called to produce her third album called "In the Night." He came out with this song "Shake It Up" right here tonight, as you can hear. And then the next year after that, she got with Luther Vandross. I know you ain't never met another Vandross, but that's what it is. So she got with him, and fourth album they did "Instant Love," and from that they got a single that was "If This World Would Mine." Yo, y'all remember that? You was always wondering who is this sister singing. That's right, Cheryl Lynn. And then after that, she got with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and came out with "Encore." That joint right there. Come on, man, stop playing. But yo, she got a bunch of albums. She did a thing. If you don't know, you better go check her out. She got like 6, 7 albums. So go ahead and check her out. No other than Cheryl Lynn, y'all. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and get back to the Remix Morning Crew. You know how we do. All right, let's go.
Oh, these are the encore.
Man, the opening to that song, stay fire.
Listen, I can see Jacqueline with her amaretto sour. As soon as that dropped that joint, Jackie like, excuse me, go right on to the dance floor.
With the amaretto sour.
Good morning, Coco.
We'd like to welcome Coco.
Good morning, everyone. Peace.
I did. You know when that song, you know how you mess up lyrics and you don't really know what the song said?
Dog, nobody know what the hell.
Yo, I thought she was saying skeezers are not employed. I did not know. I thought she was saying skeezers are not employed. I was like, skeezers? Damn,
wow.
She took a hip hop.
Whoa.
I learned something new that day.
Fun fact about Luther Vandross that I just learned on this podcast about slave revolts that I was listening to. The sister who was hosting this podcast said that likely Luther Vandross's people originated obviously from Africa first, but they came from the Dutch West Indies, Van Dross, because there was a lot of the Van Drosses owned a bunch of ends in formerly enslaved people in the Dutch West Indies, and then they immigrated or brought their enslaved people with them to South Carolina, where Luther's people was supposedly from. So
interesting.
Well, why ain't we ran into another Vandross ever?
I think they're in South Carolina. You'll probably find a collection of them, a constellation of them down there near the Charleston area.
He was just the one who could sing real good.
Right. I mean, Luther,
I like that Vandross.
So somebody named Vandross besides Luther. Yeah. But Cheryl Lynn, what a treat there. I did not know that she toured with the Wiz. Makes perfect sense. But she has some jams.
Yeah, she worked with some big people, man. So that's your artist spotlight today. I will get up out of here and catch you on the next break.
Peace. Well, remixers, we appreciate you guys joining us. It is the Good Tuesday, May the 9th. It's Kim Brown, Jackie Lukman, Coco's in here with us. So, Ear Doctor, let's slap at that map, baby. Yes, y'all. Remix Morning Show. We appreciate all the remixers tuning in today with us on Black Power Media. Please be sure to give the video a like. Subscribe to the channel. If we have not already crossed that 25,000 subscriber threshold, we are super very close. So tell the word, spread the word, tell a friend, tell your mother, tell your grandmother. You know they live on YouTube. Preach the word. I know we have news, but actually, I'm so sorry because Jackie's here. I'm like, I got it. Jackie, I have another question. Jackie, I got more questions, and now I have questions about different things, Jacqueline. Because
I hope I have an answer.
What happened at the Kremlin last week, Jacqueline? What happened? They let the chopper sing. They sent a drone after Vladdy, and I seen Dmitry Medvedev get on TV talking shit. He was like, whoever the fuck wanted, bring it. And I said, oh shit, is it really going down in Russia? And American media is just like, we don't even know what happened. What happened over there? We don't even know. What happened? What happened? Is Vladdy okay? Is everybody all right?
He's fine. He's all right. There ain't nothing happened. So it appears that, not it appears. Yes, there was a drone, an unapproved, unsanctioned drone that entered into a restricted Russian airspace, flew over the Kremlin. It was destroyed by Kremlin defenses because they, it's the Kremlin, just like the White House has snipers and stuff on the roof. They do. Kremlin has the other, this is what I think. I believe, now I could be completely wrong, and I really don't have anything to base this on other than my belief that the US government does not want to instigate a direct confrontation with Russia. This proxy war using Ukraine against Russia is how the US is trying to weaken Russia. They do not, the US government, I won't say the US government, the Pentagon, the people who actually wage war, who have been in wars, who don't have a problem, fomenting coups and that type of stuff, but who really do not want to get mired down in a hot war with Russia because they remember, they know the history of World War II and Russia losing what is it 25 million up to
Million.
30 million people, defeating that. They understand they do not want that smoke from Russia. It will not be nice. The US government, Biden and the State Department, these soft neocons who haven't even had a difficult discussion with racists, let alone fought in a war. They don't care. But I think the Pentagon is very clear that they don't want to instigate a hot war with Russia. So I don't think the US approved this little drone attack. I think this was Zelensky on his own. And I think that Zelensky has been kind of going off script a little bit with a few things. I think that he is, I think he's kind of pissing the policymakers in Washington off. That he
You sure?
is.
Because didn't they just send him 300 more million dollars?
Well,
They just
they're not pissing. He's not pissing them off so much that they're because see, eventually, what's gonna happen is that the United States is going to walk away from this situation in Ukraine. It may not be this year, it may not be next year, but this is the new Afghanistan, and meaning that that's how this is going to end. That there's not going to be Ukraine is going to be there's not going to be a Ukraine left. And the United States government is not going to care. The EU is not going to care. They're all going to walk away. And Ukraine is going to be, it's going to be another Syria. It's going to be another Yemen. It's going to be another Afghanistan. But I really think that this was just Zelensky outside of any direction from the U.S. I'm not going to say the U.S. government didn't know. I think they did know, but I don't think they directed him to do it. I think he did it on his own, and we see how that, because see, assassinating Russian political leaders, that's actually that's what the Ukrainian government does. That's what they've been doing. That just hasn't been reported in US media. Ukrainian forces have assassinated several kind of lower level, or attempted to assassinate Russian leaders throughout this conflict. So I think Zelensky just kind of got impatient, got tried to get bigger than his britches, and tried to send a drone to take out Putin, I guess. I don't know. Putin wasn't even in the
ballsy.
Kremlin, by the way. When Putin was not
Ballsy.
in the Kremlin, he actually usually is not in the Kremlin. He usually does not do daily business as the Russian head of state in the Kremlin. So I think this was a Zelensky going off script kind of thing. But I'm not going to say that the U.S. government was not aware of it. I just don't think they directed it.
Interesting timing, though, after that US drone, what was it, over the Caspian Sea, where the Russian fighter
Mhm.
jets, downed it into the sea. And it's like, another drone flying over the Kremlin. I mean, I thought it was I definitely thought America had a hand in it. if not themselves directed Zelensky to do. I mean, I really don't know, but I just thought I'm like, this is kind of major news that the
Mhm.
seat of power in Russia was attacked. I mean, I can't see how it would be any different than a foreign operated drone flying over the US Capitol trying to attack it. Like, it seemed to me like a big deal, but I didn't I was curious what, the media coverage of it obviously was next to nil here in the US, but I was just wondering what the Russian perspective was.
Yeah, I mean, Russia's response is that they take it as the provocation that it was. And they said they believed that the US had a hand in it. I could be entirely wrong. I at this point in this mess, it does make a difference. If Zelensky does something, you might as well say the US did it, because
Yeah.
Zelensky is the US's tool in this entire thing. So, you know, I don't know. I think that and I say this often and people don't like to hear it, but I think it's true. The only reason we haven't had World War III at this point, whatever people think that's going to look like, the only reason we're not there yet is because of the restraint of Russian and
Russia.
Chinese leaders. That's the only reason, because this country's government and their proxy governments they're throwing everything against the wall to try to get us to that point. And the only reason we're not at that point is because these other leaders are like, nah,
We
we're
can
more
see the end of
human than these
humanity.
monsters.
Right. Exactly. As somebody who lives, and Jackie, I'm sure you shared the sentiment. I mean, someone who lives less than 10 miles away from the seat of power in the United States, I too do not want a hot war with Russia, because if they were to drop something comparable on us that we dropped on Japan, it's a
Hiroshima and
wrap
Nagasaki,
over.
done.
It's done with PG County, done out here. Southeast DC, done out here. Like, it's over.
Mm-mm.
So yeah. Anyway,
So
how are you
yeah,
feeling, Coco?
I
What
gotta
you think about
run.
the battle of the white? Oh, you got to leave.
Yes, I do. We
What?
have a 9:30 interview this morning, but I'll be back tomorrow with more stuff, with more news. We'll see what crazy stuff the Empire does tomorrow.
Hmm. Okay.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I can't get to stay around and talk to Kim and Coco. I'm sorry, but
Oh.
I gotta earn my paycheck. So I'll see y'all later.
Okay.
Peace, Jackie.
Make that money, girl. Don't let it make you.
You get on this pole. No.
Oh man. All right. Well, so long to our good sis Jack Lee. Coco, you dropped the kids off. Did you see Kamal throwing his children out the window on in the circle when y'all was dropping the children off?
No, not at all. But yeah, I definitely it was nice because the kids were like, "How do you know my name?" And I'm like, "I pay attention." It was so funny because like I really do. I'm so involved.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah.
Child
Did
is
you hear
very
about the
fortunate.
in DC, did you hear about the housing a lawsuit that had been brought about on a landlord? I guess a slumlord. They're owners of a building in DC. They're from New York. And I guess the obviously they're slumlords, and they had a lawsuit that got brought up against them. Mm-hmm. And the judge ruled in favor of reducing the rent for all tenants by 50%.
Wow.
And then they tried to claim that they don't have any money and that they would go bankrupt. But because they have so many properties in New York, the judge said if they don't pay or fix the problem and pay certain fees, that the tenants are going to actually see a reduction of up to, I think, 85% of their rent. But I thought about you because, obviously you're from the DC area. So yeah.
Pull that up, Coco. Where are we? I mean,
no, yes. I'm trying to. I'm terrible with this right now, but I got so many other stories that I would.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's funny. I had a housing story too out of Philly. I'm encouraged to hear that. I would love to know who helped to organize those tenants, or obviously those tenants perhaps organize themselves. Like that sounds like a big affordable housing victory, especially in a place as out of control rent wise as the DC area is.
Wow. Yeah, and you know what was interesting? I think it was the new district attorney that actually brought the case about. So it's not really necessarily like me being like, oh, this is an activist initiative, but it was a big win based on the judge itself. The judge actually said that he didn't want to rule in the judgment against the landlord without making sure that this benefits the tenant. Now, this is not to say that I'm like, yay, pro judge and pro, all of that,
Attorney
but
General, right?
I thought that was a fairly good win. So let me bring this up here. Ear doctor, can we get your help here? Because I'm a little lost.
Yeah, I was saying, go ahead and drop the link in the chat room. I got you. There we go.
All right.
I wonder where this. Well, I mean, obviously, we know that gentrification is, to say it's out of control in DC. I don't even think does it justice. I mean, Washington is one of the most gentrified cities in America. That used to be Chocolate City. Did y'all know that? Chat remixers, y'all know they used to call DC Chocolate City. Notice how I say used to.
Used to, yeah. I actually visited DC back in the day, and it was quite like visible at the time when I used to visit, but that was like, a long time ago. So I'm sure
That's the thing.
it's changed.
And see, when you come back, you'll notice. It'll be noticeable. You'll be like, oh my God, gentrification is so horrific in Washington. But this sounds like a victory. And I'm curious where this apartment building, where in the city it was located, because in the more quote unquote desirable areas of the city, particularly Northwest, obviously a lot of historically Black communities in Northwest DC, including Petworth, including Shaw, including Trinidad. You know what I'm saying? Black people who have been there for many generations are being forced out, to accommodate the whites.
Well, this is Marbury Plaza apartment complex in Southeast Washington.
Oh, damn, that's down by Jacqueline.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so according to this, he ordered that the rent of the tenants be cut 50% retroactive June 1st of 2022, right? Wow. So that is going to be really big for the tenants that are living there. According to the story, tenants were experiencing issues such as no air conditioning, no heat in the winter. You have insects, rodents, leaks, molds. And in this case, the attorney said that they were fining, I guess, the landlord $5,000 a day, as long as they remained out of compliance. So in this case, it's a father and son. They're from New York. I guess they're, I think, optometrists or some type of, healthcare,
big money doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
Two optometrists. Sorry.
Yeah. And, they have money, and apparently they have a lot of buildings in New York. And so this, they just use this plaza to borrow about $15 million to still buy more properties in New York. Right. So the judge was like, we're not going to sit here and you're not going to fool us. They have until August 24th to actually pay to comply. Otherwise, the tenants will get a cut of 60% rent. And if after August 24th, they still don't comply, or actually by October 23rd, if they don't comply, the tenants actually get a 75% cut, not the 85% I had said earlier. But I thought this was pretty good. I would like to see more of that, actually. So I think more slumlords need to be held accountable. I don't think this is like the totality of a solution, but I do think that, if more of this is being recognized, I think that slumlords needs to be held accountable, period. And that, and obviously DC is, a lot of people don't probably have access to good housing if you are Black in DC. So I think this is definitely a big win.
Hell, the housing you described don't even sound like good housing. You know what I'm saying? It does not sound like good housing. And I'd be curious as to whether or not the tenants have been withholding their rent for this time, or have they actually been forced to pay full rent, and then retroactive to the date specified by the judge, will they be reimbursed for the rents that they've paid? I'm just, these are just the small questions that pop into my head, because I can't see why the fuck would anybody. I mean, I understand why people pay rent in shitty places. Obviously, you need a roof over your head. I get it, but you shouldn't have to pay rent if you are dealing with hazardous conditions like mold and vermin and all kinds of other stuff, and lack of proper heat and air conditioning. No, you shouldn't have to pay rent on a place like that. And you shouldn't be forced to live in a place like that. So I'm curious what the rent situation has been for the tenants since the attorney general got involved. And to be honest, people like these attorney generals across the country, they need to do more of this. They need to do more of this. Like, this should not be a one-off, or, we help tenants in this one building get this victory this one time. As you said, Coco, there's slumlords everywhere, all across America, in every city, exploiting poor people and people who know that they are on the verge of being unhoused if they were to lose the place that they are currently in. So, I mean, shit, this is what I like to see more attorney generals across the country do. Take up these fights on behalf of the folks.
Kim, I pulled up
Yeah,
your Philly story. My bad. Go ahead.
Oh, baby, go to the other one, because I'm still reading through this Philly story. Go to the CBS one, because so this is interesting. And Coco, I'm glad you're here, because, and shout out to the remixers, you guys. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. This has been an unconventional morning, so don't forget to give the video a like and a thumbs up whilst you are in here. But the state of Maryland. So let me get y'all.
Yeah, because I
caught
only
up
got
with
one.
this.
You only sent me one story.
No, it's at the very top. So one of them showed up as a thumbnail. I don't know why my emails show up like this. So one of them kind of showed up as a default thumbnail, and the other one showed up just as the link. And the reason I know it, because I clicked on the link from my sent email, but it's fine. But it should say, I think, CBS Baltimore. And the headline is: New Maryland law stops statute of limitation on survivors to sue sex abusers. And this was a new law that y'all's boy, Governor Wesley signed this into law. So Maryland Governor Westmore signed dozens of bills into law on Tuesday afternoon. This is like a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks actually. Just hours after the 2023 legislative session ended. And one of those new Maryland laws will open the door to new lawsuits brought by survivors of child sex abuse. And it says survivors of child abuse have been pushing lawmakers to pass the Child Victims Act for decades. And finally, Senate Bill, what did I say, 686, and the House Bill 1 is now a law. And so what's interesting about this, hold on, let me go on to check this out. It says, it doesn't feel real. It really doesn't, says survivor Teresa Lancaster. It said that we've been denied too many times. So basically what the state of Maryland has now said is that, previously there have been statutes of limitations, that can vary for a variety, different durations of time. 5, 7, 10 years after the last incident of abuse. But now Maryland has basically said there is no statute of limitations, so people can sue at any time. So what this has done, Coco, those commercials that you see, call Morgan and Morgan. Have you been involved in a car accident? Have you had a slip and fall? Well, call this national law firm and we'll represent you and get you the money that you deserve. So now those kinds of law firms have started to run commercials on Maryland TV airwaves, looking for survivors specifically of child sex abuse by the Catholic Church. Earlier this year, Maryland's Attorney General, his office, released a report, a damning report. All these reports are damning, that indicated that the Baltimore Archdiocese enabled, I believe, over 150 pedophiles, aka priests, who abused north of about 600 people. So as that report came out, this new law sort of dovetails with that, even though people have been pushing for this law for a long time. So one of the attorneys who have been running commercials in the state of Maryland, chat, y'all know who I'm talking about? Ben Crump. Ben Crump is actually in Maryland somewhere today to do a press conference to announce that he also is getting in on this, that his firm will be representing people who are survivors, specifically of church sex abuse. And I don't know if he specified Catholic church sex abuse or not. But it's almost like a new cottage industry has been given birth, and I don't necessarily think it's bad. I just don't know what to think of it. I mean, I want survivors to be able to sue for damages whether or not the shit happened last year or 50 years ago. Like, I support that. But it's something weird to me about profiting off of people's misfortune or their trauma. And I don't know. Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you following me here?
I mean, I think you're saying that Ben Crump is a predator himself.
But is he
I'll just
actually
say,
helping people? I mean, is it help?
I mean, he does, I feel like his face is everywhere, like I just read a story. I just read a story online about a kid in Mississippi whose head was severed, right? And they're trying to get to the bottom of it. And I guess Ben Crump is involved in that as well. And I think that there is, for me, I think this doesn't necessarily resolve the issue, right? Because at the end of the day, where's the accountability? And right, I think lawsuits can kind of, tend to, like, people rely on these lawsuits, but then it gets shut away. And then there's not really any real resolution or no real solution. So while I say, hey, take the money, get the money as you can, but at the same time, are we really actually, instilling any type of change or accountability that, people are still looking at the church as a symbol of something, and there's no real accountability. Like, I mean, people still believe in the church after all of this has happened, right? And this is not just like, even in the article, it says like 600 children, but there's so much more children that have been, violated in this way. And I think that there's just, I think it's the right to, I think they did this in New York as well, extending the statute of limitations. And I think it's just like, I don't know if it really resolves any issues, but if people find peace in that, I think it's, at least some people might find peace in that. So I don't know.
Should we be glad that a Black attorney like Ben Crump is getting in on this? Like, again, I saw the commercial is running. Like, I had to rewind the DVR. I said, when I was in a different room and I heard Ben Crump talking for an uninterrupted 60 seconds. I'm like, what am I hearing? And I was actually looking for the commercial on YouTube. I couldn't find it because I'm like, y'all got to see this. I don't know how to feel about it. Lord, is the drones coming to attack? Coco, look out your window. Duck and cover, girl. What's happening? What is going on? Duck and cover.
All right, we got a little sound in the back there, Coco. I don't know what's going on, so we're going to take a quick break.
Is the drone outside your house?
It sounded like the drone was outside her house, yo.
Duck and cover, Coco. This out your window.
We got to watch out, man. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back. And this is no other than the Remix Morning Show.
Let's get it.
Show. Yeah. What's good, everybody? Welcome out. Remix Morning Show, Black Power Media. Like, subscribe, all those buttons, hit them. All right, so we talk about 50 years of hip hop. You know I had to come with it again today. Let me take y'all out to the Bay. That's right. We're going to talk about sisters. Not just sisters, but the conscious daughters. What y'all know about the conscious daughters right here? All right, well, let's talk about them. All right, female rap group out of the Bay Area, as I said. You had Carla, also known as CMG, and Carol, known as Special One. They signed in 1993 to Parrish record label. Y'all remember Parrish? That's right, the rapper. He was a militant rapper. Also Scarface Records. They passed a demo tape. Remember demo tapes? They got it to it at the club, and then he was like, yo, come on. And then they released their first studio album, Ear to the Street. 94 single Something to Ride To, as you hear in the background. It helped them get national recognition. So everybody knew about them from the West Coast. It was a big thing. Many collaboration projects, television appearances came after that, especially when they came on Rap City. MTV Jams and Soul Train. Now, what Nas did in 2007 is he had a track called "Where Are They Now?" West Coast remix that had them on there with also King T, Candyman, Ice T, Sir Mix-a-Lot, and some others. So they also did a third album, which didn't get too high off the ground, but they did do 3 albums: Ear to the Streets, Gamers, and the Nutcracker Suite. What happened is on December the 10th, 2011, Smith was found dead at her home. Now, Smith, we're talking about Special One. She was found dead at her home. Initially, the cause of death was unknown, but it became determined to be coming from complications associated with blood clots in her lungs. So big up to these sisters right here. No other than Conscious Daughters. Yeah.
Yo, what was the name of this, like their single? Like, why I can see a Conscious Daughters video playing on Rap City after school. And
we also had this one right here. We Roll Deep.
Maybe
We
that was
Roll
one.
Deep, and then Something to Ride To. Those are the 2 biggest songs, so a lot of people don't know about them. But you do today now.
I remember Conscious Daughters. I do.
Actually, I was talking about my homeboy Rick Rock. He actually got to produce some songs. One of the reasons he went out to Cali to help on their album produce some stuff. All right.
That's dope. So sorry to hear about Special One passing away. I'm sorry, what year did she pass?
She passed in the year of 2011.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, rest in
Yeah.
peace, sis. Big up
in
to
peace.
the Conscious Daughters. Big up to the Bay, to the
Right.
Gate area.
Yeah. All right. Coco is back, sounding straight. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Peace.
All right. Thank you, Ear Doctor. You got any stories, Coco? Because I do have that Philly affordable housing.
I do have a story about the Texas shooter linked to the Proud Boys. I don't know if that's something that we could get into, but I think it's a relevant story because, they're wearing patches called the Right Wing Death Squad, right? And then he goes into Texas and he starts shooting. I don't know exactly what had happened in Texas, but I do know that he has been linked. I think this is the MSN Texas. Yes, that one. So in this case, it has been revealed that he was wearing one of the patches that the Proud Boys typically will wear. It's called the Right Wing Death Squad, RWDS. And I think his name is Garcia. His name is, yeah. And so it's interesting because at the end of the day, we are constantly considered violent. We're constantly, for our social movements that we are working toward. Yet we don't actually see this level of violence that we see from these white supremacists, and this right wing. Let's call them fascists, right? Let's be real here. They're fascists, right? And so, just the fact that they're, being linked. I mean, we also see that the Proud Boys leader, Tario, I think he was recently convicted of seditious, what was that?
Conspiracy.
He was, seditious conspiracy. That's right. So he was just convicted. He's facing up to 20 years for his role in January 6th. So I guess I would just say the Proud Boys themselves have a history of violence. They have a history of, feeling that they could, demonstrate a specific opposition to any type of left or any type of communist, socialist movements in a way that has no basically impunity. But as we're seeing that they are in fact violent, right? And so the Texas shooter was involved with, I guess, the Proud Boys. And, a lot of people are trying to deny his involvement. But at the same time, I guess he was wearing this patch. So it just says that for me, the Proud Boys are responsible.
You have a picture of the patch?
Yes. If we see the article, I don't know what happened to the
Because I
article.
think it is very important that people, especially our people, need to know what this shit looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like you see motherfuckers show up rocking that shit, get away from them immediately. Like or beat that ass. I don't know, but be aware. Like I don't think we can be out here ignorant to what these symbols and things represent. And I saw an interview from the mall in there in Allen, Texas, with someone who was a witness. And the witness said that because this guy was dressed in this tactical gear and was wearing that insignia on their chest. Do we see the John or what? Can I see the
I
insignia?
don't
Can
know
we
what.
point it out?
Yeah, doctor, what's going on here?
What's going on, man? You just scrolling, dog. Like, what's up?
So if you see this little red patch here, if we scroll up all the way to the top, we'll see it actually more clearly. It's on a hat, so we can actually see it more clearly. So we see that RWDS, that is the same symbol that you'll see on the patch.
And that
So
stands for
again,
right wing death squad.
yeah, that's what it stands for. So you know they're very present. Obviously they're very dangerous, and people definitely need to know, right? If you see one of these people, I mean, I don't know how to respond to that, right? Like, what do you do when you come across somebody like the
Leave.
Proud Boys, or when you come
Get
across
away.
somebody, you know? But I mean, I think it's for us. I think we really need to think in terms of how these contradictions are becoming more visible, right? And so when we see people like that, how are we actually able or capable to respond to these situations, right? Like, what type of work are we doing to be able to protect our communities from violent people in this way, right? And even a lot of people that you see online. I think there was this one woman who is from Miami running for office. You can see her in a picture with this individual who is the Texas Mall shooter, right? So they are actually in a picture together. It was posted on Twitter yesterday, connecting her to it. And you know, you just see a lot of people, politicians, a lot of people who are, you know, have impact in communities, who are connected to the Proud Boys and connected to these violent people. And I think that that is definitely something that we should be aware of. So,
I mean, that white supremacist recruitment rhetoric is something serious. Like Mauricio Garcia actually took up arms and shot random people in the mall as a race soldier on behalf of white supremacy. What the fuck made Mauricio decide to go do that? What the hell made Mauricio think that well, I guess he didn't have to think. He was right. He was part of this white supremacist movement, though
though
not
he was
overtly
brown
white
skin.
himself. So, but this, but between, I mean, and again, like I do bad with race and ethnicity, so I'm not going to even give it a shot. Coco, you probably can come through with the race and ethnicity analysis. But between Mauricio Garcia, a soldier for the Proud Boys, and then Enrique, you know, that the HNIC for the Proud Boys, it's like what's going on? What's going on with our Latino fam that they about this action on behalf of white supremacists?
Well, I've actually seen a lot of reports lately speaking to this this Latino, this Hispanic, right wing fascists that are starting to rise, right? Because I feel like, you know, if you really think about, I think that the history of Latino struggle here in the United States is a history of, you know, wanting to assimilate, right? And so I think that there's that history, but I think even in the South, specifically Miami, you have the Cubans who think, you know, who are in fact, you know, predominantly white, right? And so, you know, they are fascists. But you also have a lot of people in Latin America who have connections to Nazis, right? And so there is a history of this. I read yesterday, there was an article that was put out back in 2018 of somebody who was connected to who is the Colombian cartel, the Medellin cartel. Somebody who was very prominent in that cartel, back in the 70s, who pretty much is the one who kind of started up this U.S. Colombia cartel, trafficking. And he was a Hitler stan, right? So he was he was a Hitler stan, right? And so he felt like he would become eventually a politician in Colombia, and he was going to bring the Nazi fascist program to Colombia because of his father. His father was a former German Nazi, right? And so there's a lot of people in Latin America who have a lot of these connections to Europeans who are in fact fascists. And I think that has often translated when they come to the United States. They bring those values with them. And so now you have white supremacists here in the United States that help to, make them feel comfortable with their ideas and their needs to, again, have power, right? And so I guess that to me is my, brief, quick analysis on that. And that's not to say that, African people, indigenous people from Latin America don't fall in line with some of these ideas, because sometimes they don't, see color. And so they don't see themselves as African or indigenous. They see themselves as Hispanic, right? Which is, really false if we really want to identify what people are. So then sometimes they assimilate to these ideas, and then, it's these contradictions that exist. But we also see Black people who are involved with Proud Boys and fascists as well. So we can't, what does color have to do with anything, really? So
it's just wow, because I know there was a couple of Black people down in January 6th, and they were appropriately charged and found guilty ahead of some of their white comrades, etc. But I don't see, and maybe I just don't know, but I don't see Black people in positions of leadership in these organizations, and maybe I just don't know to the extent that they're. But maybe Enrique Tarrio is sort of an anomaly. Maybe he is the only Latino person that is in a position of leadership in that organization. But for this guy, Mauricio Garcia, I mean, I can't. We can't keep. We are not. But I mean, this kind of random violence happens so often in America in such innocuous places, places that we once thought were innocuous and free from this sort of violent situation. Again, it's just a very sad reminder of how bloodthirsty not only white supremacy is, but just America is in general. That the blood of innocence is just so easily spilled at a whim. But circling back to the symbolism that this person was displaying when they began this rampage that ended up killing 8 people. I believe 3 of those people were in fact children between the ages of, I think, 3 and 11 themselves. This insignia was part of the reason that one of the witnesses that I saw interviewed didn't think that Garcia was the actual shooter, because I suppose the insignia bears some resemblance to a law enforcement something or other, or he himself, the shooter, Mauricio Garcia, was wearing some sort of badge affixed to his tactical gear. And the witness said, because he was so geared up, like because he had on so much shit that looked like police, and he was wearing this vest, and he had this badge, and he had this insignia, the witness assumed that he was the police, which is wild. which is wild. But without a question, that was the intended effect, right? To at least disguise himself in a way that resembled law enforcement, so that he wouldn't immediately be the one perceived as a threat. Now, he was eventually shot and killed by, I believe, a police, but that wasn't until he killed 8 people already.
Yeah, and I think you're often going to see a lot of these individuals in tactical gear. And again, a lot of these people, are former military. A lot of times people are, involved in, have family members who are police, right? So a lot of times these are not, people who are, so far away from that. I think he was seen in a picture wearing a shirt, I think helicopter or something. And so it just shows like, you know, a lot of people who are a part of the military, and this is not to say all people in the military, this is to say there are a significant amount of people in the military who are, you know, patriots, right? And they have this, you know, belief that the United States is becoming too liberal, and so they're really fighting to. And a lot of times people get caught up in that. I know a lot of people who are, you know, patriots, even though they have no benefit to the system. And it's just it really. And even speaking to what happened with Jordan Neely on the train, you know, I believe the Black man that was holding him down, it was identified that he had a military backpack on, right? The Black man that was holding him down. And I think that, you know, just speaks to, and the way he was holding him down as well, certain grips that he was making, it was showing that he had some type of training, right? And so I think, you know, we have to recognize that and it's not to say all people in the military, but it's just to say that some people in the military are, you know, conditioned in a certain way. And I think that that's white supremacy in underlying their training. That's white supremacy underlying their, you know, their mentality. They think in this way, and unfortunately, how do you change that? How do you, you know, there's so many people who have been, you know, involved in the military, and their training, you know, gives them these perspectives of, you know, we gotta save America, we gotta save our people, you know, and so death and violence is their method, and it continues to happen. So we gotta address the military, I guess.
Well, we need to dismantle the military. The military needs to be gone away. It needs to be abolished. Like, and I was thinking about this because this man, Mauricio Garcia, is a army veteran with swastikas tattooed all over his body, and you know that sort of ideology is not necessarily frowned upon in the U.S. military. Dare I say it is encouraged. I can remember, and you guys know this story. Who was the sniper? They did the fucking movie about him, and the cute white boy played him, Bradley Cooper. What was that shit? Was that the sniper who killed bin Laden? Was that what the movie was about? But anyway, the nigga had fucking John 3:16, like a Bible verse, like inscribed on his rifle, right? And that is that white supremacist Christo-fascist crusader mentality that so many of these white military members, but black ones and Hispanic ones also, they get indoctrinated into that. You know, we're going abroad, you know, to fight for democracy, to fight for American values, preserve American values. I've told y'all this story, well, on my show anyway. My brother was a Marine, and again, I can't even describe the levels of heartbreak, even before he passed away. But when he enlisted in the Marines, I was terrified for him because for two reasons. For one, when there's some when America's about to go spread democracy and about to go invade someplace, first people they send in the Marines. Second, the other reason, well, many reasons, but the second primary reason I was heartbroken that my brother enlisted in the Marines is because I knew the level of brainwashing that he was about to undergo. You know, he was about to go from a regular, very sweet kid, and I knew that they were going to train him to be a killer in every sense of the word. Killer with his hands, killer with his weapons, and that's not who he was. But I knew that level of indoctrination is difficult to resist, even for somebody who might have be a foundationally good person. You know what I mean? But looking at the situation in Texas with this mass shooting and this Army veteran, I believe, that did this, I can only assume that, you know, the white supremacist boot camp, it is the U.S. military, right? And I was trying to think of the reverse. Have we had any former black military folks to act as race soldiers on behalf of our movement? And I can think of two, and one is Chris Dorner, and the second one is a gentleman whose name I can't recall, but I know the chat knows it. Coco, you might know it too. The guy in Dallas, y'all, he was in Texas. He was former military. I want to say his first name was Kevin, but I can't think of what his last name was. He shot and killed 5 cops intentionally. He was posted up in a tall building? Was he on a college campus? He is the only person in American history to ever be murdered on US soil by a robot. He is the one that they sent the robot in there to blow him up. And the American media is just like, oh, they blew up a nigga. Oh, no, nothing to see here. Sprinkle some crack. He killed police. They could have dropped a nuke on him. He would have deserved it. I mean, wow, madness. So, and to me, we don't talk about our military veteran race soldiers who have done shit on our behalf, basically. And I think that these people need to be remembered. I think they need to be commemorated and memorialized for their actions, for their heroics. I know the way that mainstream American society does not view them as heroes. I do. I still have a tremendous amount of empathy for Chris Dorner, and I still think him to be a hero. And the other gentleman too in Dallas, y'all know his name. What's his name? I'm gonna look it up, but go ahead. I'm sorry, Coco.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have some examples. You have Geronimo Pratt. You have, other examples of people who have, enlisted in the military, saw what the military actually does, and then comes back and decides to say, you know what, fuck this place, fuck these pigs, and it's not to say that violence is always the answer, but in the case of violence against pigs, I'm not shedding any tears. So shout out to that that individual who decided enough is enough. And I understand. Like, I have a friend. I had a friend. I knew him long. I've known him for like 15 years, and before I knew him, before he went into the military, we were cool and all that. And then, he became an Apache pilot, a fighter pilot. And he was, out there during a lot of these wars, killing, innocent people. And, I felt like he had a distrust of, a lot of the American politics. But after a recent conversation with him, I just don't see him really separating with Uncle Sam, right? I don't see him. I still feel like he's a patriot, and I have confusion, I think he even stated he would fight in World War III if he had to. And I'm like, really? Like, are you serious? After all that you went through, like your mentality, your whole like mentality is damaged because of the military, and you still feel like, you can contribute more to the violence that you've already, like. And so, like, sometimes I feel like, a lot of times people use religion to excuse their actions in war, which is not a good thing at all. Like, you can't, like, why are you not looking at who actually created the problem? And I think he understands that the United States is dangerous and violent and goes into other countries and intervenes and creates all this chaos throughout the world. But the conditioning is so strong that, and then they, obviously they benefit after, because their jobs, they have sometimes they have, veterans have employment and they have opportunities because of the military. So they still feel indebted, I guess you could say. And it's really a tough line to, but that's also to say, like, a lot of times when I feel like if you're in the military, there's a lot of mental health issues for people who have been in the military that are not addressed. Like, veteran, benefits are not really good, right? A lot of veterans don't have access to good healthcare and good services to help them reacclimate into society. And so a lot of times the way they think and the US obviously clearly is okay with that, with them coming back and not necessarily being healed from all of that violence. And so all they know is violence. And so now they come back and they get involved with such as the Proud Boys, or get involved in a lot of these white supremacist organizations, regardless of color, and and use their violence for their causes. And this is what we're seeing. So
yeah, we definitely want to send our ongoing condolences to the people in Allen, Texas, who lost their lives at the mall. Just another day in America, everybody. Everyone that is watching this from outside of the US, be glad you are where you are. You know what I mean? Like, the shit is crazy. stateside. So do we have any more stories to
Well,
get into, or Air
we
Doctor,
got
you
like
gonna take them out?
we got like 3 minutes left before the show is over. But he also just had a shooter here in Atlanta. That shot a lady and I think like 3 other people. And they out here,
What was
man.
the reason? Did they give a motive?
I still didn't see any reason or anything.
It
You heard
happened
about
in
it,
a
Chris?
medical complex. Yeah, it happened in a medical complex. I don't know exactly what happened, but the man was black, and at the end of the day, or the accused man, I don't know, obviously facial recognition. They,
Yeah, right.
these days they know who people are and they're able to identify people. So for whatever reason that he decided to go into the medical complex in Midtown, is to I wouldn't know. So.
Yep.
But
So they
it
out here,
happens
man.
anywhere. Hmm.
So it's the guns, the people, the mental health. There's so many different things we can point at.
The
But
racism. The
that
racism.
racism, capitalism, all the
All of it.
isms, all the isms. So, man, I appreciate all y'all for tuning in today. Another Remix Morning Show. As you seen, we had no other than Jackie Luke Mine, Burn It Down, Kim Brown, Coco, Kalanji Yamachanga, and myself. And we're gonna be back tomorrow with some more for y'all. So y'all got anything else to say before we get up out of here?
You don't got a
Burn it
mix for
down with Kim Brown
anybody?
tonight, 7 p.m.
Burn It Down,
Okay.
Kim Brown tonight, 7 p.m. What you talking
Yes,
about, Kim?
please, and thank you. I don't fucking know.
Just
Something.
tune in to find out.
I don't know. We talking. We're gonna be talking. So yeah, I'm about to hop on that. So yeah.
All right. And
And
confronting
tomorrow,
contradictions.
confronting contradictions. Yes, I'm trying to bring it tomorrow. I'm so busy. I'm like trying so hard to get all this work done, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna put it out there and see what happens. See what happens.
You can
But yes,
do it.
tomorrow 10 a.m.
All right. With that
Set
said,
your bells and notifications.
we are out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Be here sharp. Peace. Peace.